Hello, my name is Adam Chalom, and there are two parts of my professional life that are deeply connected to the question of intermarriage. On one hand, I am the rabbi of a congregation in the Chicago suburbs called Secular Humanistic Congregation, which is part of a movement called Secular Humanistic Judaism. And the second, I am the Dean for North America of the International Institute for Secular Humanistic Judaism, which trains other rabbis, which creates published materials, and which organizes adult learning opportunities for this movement called Secular Humanistic Judaism. What is this movement? Our approach is that being Jewish for us is a cultural identity celebrated through a human-focused philosophy of life. Connection to being Jewish can be through literature, through history, through language, through food, even through jokes. It can also be through holidays and life cycle ceremonies. But when we celebrate our Jewish identity, it's a connection to the Jewish people, but not necessarily to Jewish religious beliefs. After all, most Jews may not follow the ritual laws, the dietary practices, recite the prayers, or believe in the theology that's part of traditional Jewish life. What we tried to do when the movement began in the 1960s was to unify a sense of Jewish ethnic and cultural identity with this human-focused approach to life that people were already living. If they got sick, they went to the doctor. If they wanted to find out about the past, they saw what science and reason or archaeology could produce. If they had problems in life, they turned to themselves, or they relied on their friends and family and community. In effect, it was a humanistic, a human-focused approach to life, and we tried to combine that and to celebrate together our Jewishness and our humanism. Now, we were not the first Jews to do this, of course. There were secular Jews involved in the Zionist movement in the first part of the 20th century, in Yiddish socialism as well. They were creative in their response to Jewish holidays and life cycle events, doing so through their cultural and secular Jewish identities. And in the larger movement, what we call Secular Humanistic Judaism, we have some who prefer secular, some who prefer humanistic, and some who are comfortable with the joint term secular humanistic. All told, they share this general approach of a human-focused approach to life, solving problems, understanding the world, and a cultural Jewish identity. Now, how this relates to intermarriage is we can be part of more than one culture at a time. We can feel connected to our family culture of birth, but also identify with the culture of our partner. My own family is an interesting example. Both of my parents are Jewish. All four of my grandparents are Jewish, but they're different kinds of Jewish. My father's family is from the Sephardic Syrian Orthodox Jewish community in Brooklyn, New York. And my mother's family was from the Midwest, and she was part of the Yiddish socialist and also, to some extent, Reformed Jewish background, and her family came from Eastern Europe. So in some ways, it was a Jewish intermarriage. In my professional work, both in the community and in training other leaders and rabbis, intermarriage and its acceptance has been a core part of our movement's philosophy from the beginning. Even in the 1960s and 70s, when most rabbis were rejectionists, the few rabbis who identified with humanistic Judaism were performing thousands of weddings. And they were in Chicago and Detroit, not in New York. Yet there were thousands of families who were served by these people who said simply, "We celebrate the fact that you found love." Our response to someone who's getting married who is marrying someone who is not born Jewish is to ask, "Do you love each other?" And if their answer is yes, we say, "Mazel tov, you found someone you love." It's never oy vey, it's always mazel tov. Our communities were also some of the earliest communities to open to welcoming these families as full members to participate in our cultural Jewish communal life. Three aspects of our approach to Jewish life that directly apply to intermarriage. We certainly have accepted that it's inevitable in an open society, and we wanted to find a positive response that would encourage Jewish choices going forward. The first approach is that for us, being Jewish is a culture, and you can be part of more than one culture at once. It doesn't matter which parent is Jewish to connect to part of your family culture. And so sometimes we talk about intercultural families where neither party may be that religious, but they both identify with their family cultures, as opposed to an interfaith marriage where you believe very different things. For example, if I had married an Orthodox Jew, that would have been the same culture, but very interfaith. We provide a Jewish home for that aspect of an intercultural family's identity and activities. After all, if we're asking the non-Jewish partner to respect Jewish culture and Jewish identity, then we shouldn't be allergic to them asking for some of that same respect in return to their culture. Sometimes a Christmas tree is just a tree, and we should calm down about what people are choosing to do in their home life if they're also making Jewish choices as part of their family cultural constellation. The second aspect of our philosophy that applies to intermarriage is that people are in charge of their own life. they are allowed to choose where they work, what they wear, what they eat, and with whom they fall in love. And they also are free to choose how they celebrate their own Jewishness. We're not going to stop them from getting married, or from having a Christmas tree for that matter, by saying no and by telling them to go away. Our priority is loving and happy partnerships, and those can be found in many forms. Whether or not one partner is Jewish is sometimes the least important factor in whether the partnership will be successful. The third part of our philosophy that's important is that intermarriage has only added to the already existing reality of Jewish diversity that has always been here. I remember when I was young, there were 3 or 4 flavors of bagels. There was raisin, plain, salt, and egg, and that was about it. Just like at one time there were Reform, Conservative, Orthodox, and maybe Reconstructionist congregations, but that was about it. Nowadays you go into the bagel store and you can find Asiago cheese and blueberry and chocolate chip, and some people walk into the store and say, that's not really a bagel. Well, the same is true for Jewish life. There's more Jewish intellectual diversity than ever. So why should there not also be Jewish ethnic and cultural and family heritage diversity too? What does it mean to look Jewish these days? There is no such thing. Sometimes we have to accept that in modern life, being Jewish is going to be Jewish and instead of Jewish or. You see, it used to be you could be Jewish or Catholic, Jewish or black, Jewish or even American. Nowadays, you're Jewish and. I'm Jewish and, even though, as I said, I have 4 Jewish grandparents. I'm Jewish and white. I'm Jewish and male. I'm Jewish and an alumnus of the University of Michigan. All of these are parts of my identity that come to the fore at different times. And so the future of American Jewish life is a future of Jewish ands, and we have to get used to it. In fact, the more alternatives there are for Jewish connection, for Jewish community, for Jewish ideology, the more chances that families will find a meaningful Jewish connection, and the more successful all of us will be in creating a vibrant and diverse Jewish future.